I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music. Today, we're going to do a huge 2010 release. Probably, in my opinion, one of the best releases so far in 2010. Beach House, Teen Dream. This is indie. This is very, very indie. And very something that this guy likes. And I think that the closest way to describe the way Beach House sounds, this is, I think, their third album, which I've never heard of Beach House. It's getting on the blogosphere out there. It's getting a lot of hype. A band that's getting talked about a lot and getting good reviews on Metacritic, and all the critics out there giving this good reviews, and we're probably going to follow suit because this is just a solid album. Dream pop. And that's really the best I can do to describe this. But really, what you gotta understand about this album is that it's 10 tracks and the focus is just mood. Now, if I'm gonna compare it to anything, I'm gonna say it has the sound and kind of mood of Fantagram's release, Eyelid Movies, which happened earlier this year. Also, Portishead's Third, which came out a couple years ago. And just really an overall Mercury Rev without kind of the positivity and optimism that Mercury Rev had at sometimes. But Tom, you mentioned that you think that Beach House sounds something different to you. Did you any bands?
I got memory tapes. Not as much in the mood. This is a lot less energy than memory tapes had. But mostly just in the sounds and the production, the way that was crafted, and also a little bit of Panda Bear, just in the atmospherics that were there. Absolutely,
and atmosphere plays a huge part in this album, just because our cricket is agreeing with us right now. His name is now Harold, but there's just this overwhelming sense of atmosphere and mood. And when we say mood, it's not like dark, angry, Interpol or something like that. This mood is chill. This mood is but it's a cathartic chill. It's kind of like, you're like a sad yet optimistic kind of melody. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but it's a really interesting feel, and that's why you got to check it out.
It's almost kind of ambivalent in whether it's good or bad. Like you listening to this, because a lot of these songs seem to be about relationships.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the times it seems to be good, but the vocalist is singing about it in such a dry, floaty kind of way that it's like these like love lyrics, but they're so just like flatlined. It's that you don't know whether this are good feelings or not.
What do you think about comparing this to something like the XX?
Yes, that was thank you. That was the other big one. I'm like, I know I'm forgetting something, and that's a big one.
Yep.
And especially with what I was saying about lyrical themes, there's a lot of that on there.
Yeah, and I like how you're talking about relationships, but it's almost like the loss of a relationship, fading away from,
like he's looking back on the good times rather than living in the now.
Right. And my favorite part about this album is really how they crafted and designed a sound. This is so original. There's almost nothing out there that sounds like Beach House, and I love that. And really, it's these simple guitar and drum parts with just beautiful vocal parts and a really interesting voice, but there's synths in there that just kind of blend everything together. And while it's really not doing all that much, it just creates this overall melody that you can't get away from. These guitar parts are the catchiest damn things. I want to listen to nothing else when I'm listening to these guitar parts, and I love it. And they're nothing special. They're just nicely played, and that's what really reminded me of Fantagram.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the guy's voice, because he's got just the no better word than dreamy. And I don't mean dreamy like you look into for some hot guys. Stop. I mean girls use that term a lot for guys. I mean dreamy as in just like very, very atmospheric, very smooth. I mean he uses a lot of I vowel assonance, like rhyming, not necessarily at the end of words, but like I sounds, and it's just like that. It's just so smooth. It's just like freaking butter, man. And that's one big allure of this album. He's able to make those quirks in his voice fit with the music so well. But one thing that I really liked about this album, I looked at it, I was like, 10 tracks, and most of them are pretty long, but they do something that I can't help but make this comparison, even though these guys sound nothing like them. But the band Orgy did this a lot, where, and I mean that's about as polar opposite as you get. But
I don't even know what to say right now.
that's the first thing that comes to mind. Where they start out and they have these it's like pretty verse chorus, and then they'll jump into what you think is going to be a bridge, but you almost can't even call it a bridge because it's like how they choose to end the whole last half of a song. So rather than coming back to what they were doing in the first part, it just kind of evolves into this other section and then ends like that.
And you know, that's another good comparison to memory tapes.
True, yeah, very much so.
And the fact that it's 10 tracks and still rather condensed and polished sounding is good. Also, Tom, you know, you and I talked about the first track, Zebra. It's insanely good.
Oh, yeah.
But the last track, Take Care, it's such a solid closer. And whenever you have a strong opener and a strong closer on a 10-track or condensed album, you're going to have a very positive effect.
And there's nowhere else Zebra could have gone on this album.
Oh, no,
it had to be the first
the
track.
clear opener.
You're right.
About died.
But at first, this album was a little difficult for me because here's what you're gonna get. It's almost so cohesive in the sound, and I don't even mean sound as in just style. I mean sound as in production. The exact samples and like I don't know, like synth sounds that they're using is so not overdone, but so consistent through the whole album that it all kind of bleeds together on first listen. And I was kind of like, meh. But once you get into it and you're able to separate the just perfectly crafted melodies of every song, once you're able to get some contrast between them and you can start to look at the track names and actually think about which one's which, that is when you realize, this is what happened for me. I just had this epiphany. I just realized, oh my God, every single song on this album is good. And even though they use a lot of the same sounds, they're good in their own way just because of what he's doing with the vocal melodies.
My favorite tracks, you know, I liked all of them, just like you said, but Silver Soul, that's track 2. Track 5 used to be, I love that track. And then track 7, Better Times.
I'm going to go track 1, Zebra, track 4, Walk in the Park, and track 7, Better Times.
And those other two that you named, 1 and 4 would be my next pick. So, Tom, I'm just gonna come out. I'm gonna give this an 89. I love this album.
I am going to give this an 86.
Very solid, very high scores from us and everyone else out there listening to music right now. So, while indie, if you're into something kind of more moody, something a little off the cuff, definitely check out Beach House's 2010 release, Teen Dream. Tell us what you think. Are you a fan of Beach House? Do you like the moodiness? Do you think that this kind of music sucks because it's pretty unique? Let us know, because I'm really interested to see what people think. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
We are VIMTV, and we move music critique forward.